Alright, what's going on, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than what I normally do. Most of my videos, I usually just give picks on each day's slate. But for today, I'm just going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be doing a little tutorial, pretty much showing you the things that I use for my research. I'm just going to show you how I get there, what I use, and pretty much walk you through what I do pretty much every day for research. So starting off, FanGraphs, it's a site I use for statistics. When you guys see in my videos, I pull up a player's stats, hard hit rate, strikeout percentage, all that stuff. It all comes from FanGraphs. And I know most of you don't know, if you don't know what FanGraphs is, they're just a site that provides stats, I guess. But I know a lot of people don't know how to use the site. I know when I started using it, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I clicked on FanGraphs, or I typed in FanGraphs.com, and it brought me this, and I really didn't know what I was like, how did I get to where I wanted to go. So pretty much when you type in FanGraphs, it'll just bring you to their homepage, or they just have a bunch of articles that you can read just about different players. I guess people that write for FanGraphs, they write articles. But to get to stats, to where you want to see player stats, if you just click here where it says player and blog search, you pretty much just type in any player that you want to find stats about. So I'm recording this video on June 22nd, and I believe it's a Thursday night. We got a 6-game slate tonight. I think Luis Severino is like one of the top options tonight. So if I just type in Luis Severino in the search bar, it'll actually bring up Severino's stats. That's pretty much how you get to any player you want. Sometimes if there is more than one player, so I'm guessing there's two Luis Severinos. There was a Luis Severino that played back in 1993 in the minor leagues, so we don't want him. We obviously want the Yankees pitcher that's pitching 2017 right now. So just click on his name, and then it'll pretty much bring up all his stats, his strikeout rate, walk rate, all that stuff, all the things that you want to know for MLB DFS. Because obviously, if you're rostering a pitcher, you want to know if that pitcher has a good strikeout rate, if that pitcher can get strikeouts. So that's pretty much how you do it. How do you get to player stats? You just pretty much type in their name and it'll bring it up. It'll show you K per nine, walk per nine, pretty much everything you need to know. If you scroll down a little bit, it'll show you strikeout rate, or walk percentage, strikeout percentage, pretty much all that good stuff. It'll show you batted ball data. If they get hit hard, obviously, if you're rostering a pitcher and that pitcher's getting hit hard, maybe that's something you want to take into consideration before you roster them. And then if there's anything that you don't know, like if you don't know what K/9, if you don't know what that means, if you just click on it, it'll actually tell you what it means. So K/9 means strikeouts per 9 innings, LOB percentage. Click on that, it'll tell you what it means, left on base percentage. So that's pretty much all that good stuff. Just you can go through that, look through that yourself. And then another thing that I like to use, splits. This is pretty much shows you how a pitcher gets hit versus lefties and righties. I like to use this for when I'm looking to attack a pitcher, when I'm looking to stack against a pitcher. Obviously, I wouldn't stack against Luis Severino, but this is something you want to do for when you're looking to stack against a pitcher who's not necessarily good. So if you look at Severino's splits, it'll show you how he gets hit versus lefties and righties. Giving up a 208 average to lefties, 280 WOBA, all that good stuff. If you scroll down a little bit, it'll show you home and road splits, how he gets hit at home and how he gets hit on the road. If you keep scrolling down, it'll show you advanced stats. It'll show you his strikeout rate versus lefties, strikeout rate versus righties, all that good stuff. And then if you keep scrolling down, it'll show you the batted ball data. That's another thing I like to look at. It'll show you how a pitcher's getting hit versus lefties and versus righties if they're getting hit hard. So Severino's only giving up 29.2% hard contact to lefties, which is pretty low. Like I said, you obviously aren't going to be stacking up against Severino. But for other pitchers that you would stack up against, you'll see that number rise. You'll see it get up to 30s, maybe even into the 40s. Those are the kind of guys you want to stack against because they're getting hit pretty hard. But that's pretty much it for pitchers. That's pretty much the only thing I use. They obviously have different stuff. You can check out 2016. You can check out past years. Pretty much all this other things. But I pretty much just like to look at a player's season stats and then their splits. Those are two things that I pretty much use. And then for strikeout rate, when I show you guys, a team strikeout rate, you want to know if you're going to take a pitcher against a team, you want to see if that team strikes out a lot. So to get to there, if you just go back to FanGraphs.com, go to the home page, you go over to teams right here, you hover over it, and you go to team batting stats, you click on 2017, and that'll pretty much bring up the batting stats for the teams so far this year. And another thing I want to tell you guys, when you're on FanGraphs.com, if you just bookmark the page or something, it'll actually it'll save it for you. So I pretty much have all these pages bookmarked. So I just have to click here, so you don't have to type in fangraphs.com every time. Just bookmark it, and it'll just give you a little button. If you're on Google Chrome, that's something you can do. But yeah, back to the FanGraphs. When you click on teams in 2017, it'll bring you here. So what you want to do to get to splits, to where you can see lefties and righties, just click on split leaderboards, and this will bring you to what I use in my videos, where it shows strikeout rate versus lefties and strikeout rate versus righties. So we're going to be looking for team stats here, so we want to change it from player to team. We want to change it from standard to advanced, so we can see strikeout rate, all that good stuff. And then the final thing you want to do, handedness, if you're going to be looking versus lefties. So if you're taking a left-handed pitcher, you want to see it versus a team, or how the team does versus lefties. So you change that to lefties. If you're taking a right-handed pitcher, or if you're rostering a pitcher on your DraftKings team that's right-handed, you would obviously want to see how teams are doing versus righties. So just pick your preference, and then you just go over here, you hit update, and then that'll bring it to pretty much what I do for my videos. So this shows right here. You can click on K percentage, and it'll show like top K percentage versus for that team. If you want to just sort it by whatever average, you click on average, it'll show you the top averages for each team. So obviously, if you're rostering a pitcher against a team, you want the team to have a bad average. Obviously, you're not going to be rostering guys against Houston because they have one of the best averages. Same with the Yankees. But you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the Padres don't hit righties well with a 232 average. Same with the Cubs, Giants, Oakland, all these guys. So pretty much every stat over here, you want it to be towards the bottom. But for strikeout rate, you obviously want strikeout rates to be high. So Padres, Rays, Oakland, these are the teams that strike out the most against righties so far this year. And then obviously the teams at the bottom have the lowest strikeout rate. You don't want to attack those teams because those teams don't strike out at all. For example, Houston, Boston, Pittsburgh, these teams don't strike out that much versus righties. So that's pretty much it for splits, for strikeout rate, for team strikeout rate at least. Another thing that I do, if you go over here to preset range, you can actually change it to the last 7 days. This is something I like to look at as well for last 7 days, last 14 days, to see if a team's heating up or if they're cold. So if I change it to last 14 days, it'll show how that how the team is doing in the last 14 days. So maybe they're striking out more than average. And then same thing with average and WOBA, all that stuff. You can see if they're hitting the ball better. I know Philly, they rank like 6th on the year when strikeout rate, but in the last 14 days, they're actually leading in strikeout rate. So they've been striking out a lot more as of late. So maybe that's something you want to take into consideration. But yeah, that's pretty much it for FanGraphs. That's pretty much how I use FanGraphs. They have a ton of stuff on here, a ton of stuff that's a little bit over my head. I don't know a lot about this. I've only been using FanGraphs for about a month or two. But that's pretty much what I use. I do it for split leaderboards. This will show you team strikeout rate. This is something very important to look at. And if for just looking at someone's stats, a certain player's stats, you just type in their name over here, and it'll pretty much bring up whatever you want to look at. So that's pretty much how I use FanGraphs. That's what I use it for. Like I said, they have a ton of other things here that you can check out. They have articles, all kind of stuff, but that's pretty much just what I use it for. And then for the other three things that I like to use for my research, this one is BVP. I will leave all these links in the description to all these sites, so you can check these sites out yourself. But BVP, pretty much self-explanatory, is batter versus pitcher history. So this just shows you how a batter has done versus a certain pitcher. I use RotoWire for BVP. I know there are a ton of other sites that do BVP, but I just use RotoWire. It was the first site I found, and it's what I've been using for a while. But like I said, there are definitely other sites. BVP, pretty much self-explanatory. Just shows you batter versus pitcher history. Definitely take this into consideration when rostering teams. I wouldn't recommend going just heavy, rostering all your guys on BVP. That never really works out, but definitely if a guy has a really big sample size against a certain player and has good BVP, for example, Matt Kemp, he's seen Matt Cain 64 times, he's had 16 hits, so that's a huge sample size. So maybe you would want to roster Matt Cain today, only batting 250, but he's seen Matt Cain a ton of times, so that's something to consider. And then they also have cold batter matchups. These are guys that have not done well against the pitcher they're facing. Again, you want to check out the sample size. If it's a low sample size, maybe you don't really want to take that much into consideration. And then they do pitchers as well. This just shows you pitchers the pitchers that have done good and done bad against their teams. So for today's slate, there's no hot pitcher matchups, but cold. Martin Perez, he's really struggled against the Blue Jays in the past, and same with Jeff Locke. Jeff Locke has also struggled against the Cubs. So that's pretty much it for BVP. Like I said, BVP is pretty much self-explanatory, but there are other things you can check out. Right now I have it set to 10 at bats. I think that's just like the default, but you can actually change it to a certain amount. So it'll show you the number at bats. So for example, right here, all the at bats are 10 or more, but you can change it to 5, 3, and you can see other players that have smaller sample sizes. But for BVP, I definitely like to look at big sample size if I'm on a roster guy based on BVP. The same thing with the pitcher. It's set to 60 at bats versus a team. You can lower that, adjust that however you want. And then one more thing, if you go over here to where it says game date range, if you're looking to research for the day ahead, right now I'm recording this June 22nd, but if I wanted to research for tomorrow's slate, you just click the first date and you can change it to the next day and then hit view matchup stats, and then it'll give you the stats for the next day ahead. If that's something that you really want to dig into. And then the final two things, this is pretty much one of my favorite things. This is one of the more basic things, and this is just the daily lineups. This is definitely something that you guys should be using. This pretty much just brings up each team's lineup. Now, you see right here it says projected lineup and it's in red. So this isn't the official lineup. Some teams haven't released their lineups yet, but the Orioles just released theirs. So you'll see that theirs has a green confirmed lineup on it, and this is their lineup that they're going to be rolling out tonight. Fantasy Labs, they do offer projected lineups, so you can see the lineup that they have projected, but it might not always be the lineup that actually gets rolled out by the team, so you definitely have to check back for that. And another reason I like to use this site is for implied run total. I think that's very important to look at, especially if you're going to stack a team. You obviously want to stack a team that has an implied run total that's high. So for example, the Indians, the Yankees, they have over a 5.5 implied run total, which is very high. And if you're looking for a pitcher to play, you obviously want the pitcher to be going up against a team that has a somewhat low implied run total. So, for example, Severino going up against the Angels. The Angels are only implied to score 3.5 runs, which is good for Severino. And it'll also show money lines as well. So Severino is a very big favorite, minus 232 favorite. So all those things are working in Severino's favor for tonight. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this site. Like I said, this site's also kind of self-explanatory. It just gives you implied run total. It gives you team lineup, their projected lineup. And it'll actually show the prices of each player. If you scroll up here, you can choose the site you want. So right now it's on DraftKings, but if I click FanDuel, it'll change all the prices to FanDuel prices. And then another thing, if you go here where it says contest, you can actually choose what slate you want to look at. So if I wanted just to see the games for the main slate, I could click main, and it'll just show me the main slate, or the games that are playing in the main slate. If I wanted to look at the early slate that started earlier today, I could go here, early only, and it'll show me all the games that were played in the early slate. So that's another thing you can do. And then one more thing, if you want to see positions, you can actually go here and you can click catcher, and it'll show you just the catchers. It'll highlight just the catchers that that team has. So for example, if you're looking for a catcher to roster on your lineup, you can click catcher and it'll highlight the catchers that they have in the lineup or that are in the projected lineup. So you can do that for each position. You can do that for pitchers, batters, whatever. And then like I said, for BVP, if you want to look for a day ahead, so if I was making my video for Friday night, for Friday slate, I'll just click the date and change it to Friday, and it would bring up Friday's games. So that's pretty much it for this site. Like I said, I just really like to use this site for implied run total. Just look at teams' lineups. Very important to look at. One of the most important things to look at, I believe, when you're playing MLB DFS. And then the final and last thing is just going to be weather. This is something obviously you want to look at for MLB DFS. I like to use RotoGrinder's weather report. They just have a little quick write-up they do each day for the weather. And in the quick write-up, it'll give you the games that have weather concerns. So for today, the White Sox-Twins game, the rain is moving in late this morning. Not really a fan of this game. If the start gets pushed back, may get a full game in. Delay risk is fairly high. I think a postponement is possible. Orange-yellow. And for the orange-yellow, the color just represents how much risk is involved. So if you look down a little bit, it'll show you the colors and what each means. So green means obviously the game's good to go. You can play any guy in a green game. Yellow means there's a chance for a delay. Orange means that a delay is likely and a postponement is possible. And then if any game ever has a red, you probably just want to stay away from that game. Any game that has a red, I would just definitely mark that off the list. You never want to play guys that have really bad weather concerns. Weather is something that you kind of have to roll with yourself. I played the early slate today on on Thursday, and I did play some people from this White Sox Twins game. I just took the risk. I felt like this game was going to play. So weather is one of those things you just kind of have to roll with yourself. If you're someone who doesn't like to take a lot of risks, then if there's a game that has some weather concerns, maybe you just want to stay away from it. If you feel like there's some really good plays in a game that has weather concerns, maybe you just roll the dice. It's up to you. But anytime there's a red, just completely stay away from that game. And then any other, maybe you just make your own choices. If I ever see a red or just an orange, I usually stay away from those. But orange, yellow, yellow, orange, those games usually wind up playing through. And then any others always play through. Yellow, green, those usually always get fully played. So that's pretty much it for weather. Another thing, if you scroll down a little bit, it'll just bring you up pretty much the in-depth weather. It'll show you the temperature, all that stuff. So, for example, this Toronto Blue Jays Rangers game, it was going to be very hot there, which was favor hitters. So a lot of times if there's hot weather, humid weather, that's always good for hitters, which they wrote up here. Toronto, Texas, hot and a little humid, so good for hitters pretty much. That's also something to take into consideration when looking at weather. You do want to look at weather in case there's a chance the game gets postponed. But you also want to look at weather when rostering hitters. If they're going to be playing in a hot game, a humid game, that really favors hitters. That is considered hitter weather. So yeah, weather is definitely something important to look at for MLB DFS. Like I said, I'll leave all these links in the description. You can bookmark these links and just save them on your computer, and so that way you can easily bring them up when doing your own research. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That's what I use for my research. I just use FanGraphs. Just type in a player's name if you want to know anything about them. Use the split leaderboards to look at how much a team strikes out. That's something very important to look at. Obviously, when rostering a pitcher, you want to know if he's going up against a team that strikes out a lot. BVP, pretty self-explanatory. Team lineups, same thing, pretty self-explanatory. But I do like to look at this for the Vegas lines and for the implied run total. Very important to look at as well. And then weather, pretty self-explanatory. It just shows you the weather. And you never want to play a game that has a chance it gets postponed. So definitely look at weather as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Those are just some of the basic things that I use for my research. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments, and I will be sure to answer your question. I do want to do some more tutorial videos in the future, so if there's anything you guys want me to do a video on, be sure to leave it down in the comments and I will. You know, all my videos are pretty much just giving picks on the day slate, but I do want to expand my channel, make more tutorial videos like this, maybe make videos like on DraftKings about which contest to enter. I think that would be something important that I could do as well. So like I said, if there's anything you want to see or want me to do, just leave it down in the comments and I'll be sure to do it. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed. If this is your first time on my channel, please be sure to subscribe. We'll be doing more tutorial videos in the future, and I also do pretty much every day I do picks on the day slate. So we definitely have a ton of content rolling out on my channel. So please be sure to subscribe if this is your first time on my channel. And if you scroll down to where the subscribe button is, there is a bell icon. If you click that bell icon, that'll actually notify you every time I upload. So if you never want to miss out on any videos, you can do that as well. I would appreciate that, guys. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.